Right, so here's one that everyone seems to get their brains in a tiztle with, myself included. So I thought I'd try and explain something to you in the grid, some audio fundamentals. So the idea is, what's the difference between polarity and phase, and what on earth are all-pass filters? And we hopefully will cover that in this video. So here's a kind of opening statement. Delay versus phase. So delaying something in time will always create a change in phase of some kind, important with correlated signals. So copies of the same signal, or two microphones pointed at the same snare drum, for example, one on the top, one on the bottom. But changes in polarity don't need delay or changes in time. That phase button on your console or sound card has the wrong name, and this is a common misconception. So I've built a couple of little patches here in the grid to try and explain these to you visually, really. So here we go. The first one is just exploring polarity. I think this is the simplest to wrap your head around. Nothing here is done with time or delay. So for example, we have a sine wave. You can see the red line on the top. Here's our sine wave from the oscilloscope. Top bar, you can see it's voicing, it's playing. We just have toggled the output so it's off. Here we should hear it. No worries. And I can change the pitch because I'm on a poly grid, so it's an instrument version. Okay, cool. No problem. At the same time, we take the same signal down into this multiplication box, and then the output of that is blue. So we'll see this blue line here, and we'll see that it's not doing anything. So what we're going to do is take this sine signal, and we're going to multiply it by whatever's going in on that white hole. And what we're going to stick in on the white hole is a -1 value. So this is just constantly going to shout out -1, -1, -1. So we're going to -1 multiply this value. And what we'll see is we turn up the attenuator, so we reach 0, or allow this to pass through. You'll see that this line here inverts compared to the red. So let's do that, and what we'll see is both of these signals, both the blue and the red, will be voicing, but we'll have nothing here on the output. So as we allow this to pass through, this does nothing other than allow that to pass through. So here we can see very clearly that the red line is voicing before. It's been summed together with the blue line, and we get left with no signal. The signal is on, and we could hear it. If we turn this down by any amount, we'll start to hear the remnants and see the remnants. So we're multiplying by -1, whatever the value is coming in here. So we have a complete polarity switch. When the computer is reading 1 or -1, this is flipping it to go -1 to 1. So it's not moving it in time, it's just inverting the number range, if you will. So if I play any other note, this will constantly work, right? It doesn't need to do anything else. It's just saying, when I have a +1, give me a -1. When I have a -1, give me a +1, and so on. So the polarity is constantly shifted. Okay, grand. So the next idea is a little bit different. This is where phase enters the story. So delay only. But what happens when we change the note frequency of the sine oscillator? That's your end game. So sine, so we can see it, into a mixer, output of the mixer, toggle, speakers. Same time, we take the same signal, we can delay it by amount, we can see it's making noise here, we can see the green line there. These are summed together. Summing is important. This is the correlated signals as mentioned earlier up here. And so if we introduce any difference in time by delaying it, we should see the results over here. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to find a way of cancelling. So if I move the delay and play a note, see, as soon as I introduce in some delay, we could find the point around there, depending on the resolution of our movements, and we can reach absolute cancellation. So we've delayed this signal by 1.51 milliseconds, which is the equivalent and enough to be 180 degrees out of phase. We've moved the green line in time, if you will, by delaying it. And when we sum it together with the source, the red line, we end up with nothing. So I'll show you that again. No delay, obviously, they're just on top of one another. Move the delay by a certain amount. And when we find the right amount of delay, we'll have absolute cancellation. And of course, the game could be that if we keep doing that, yeah, we could go so far out that we're back in again, or so much further out. Stop it! Whoa, holy screen. So much further out that we're back out again. This time at, let's say, 4.5-ish. Now, this question is what happens when we change the note or the pitch of that frequency of that sine wave. Of course, the delay changes, so we'll have some cancellation, some uncancelled. Some will be quiet, some will be loud, depending on what note we're at. We've got partial cancellation and partial additive. Okay, so that's the difference between changing something in polarity and changing something in time with a delay. All-pass filters, this is where the madness creeps in. So all-pass filter is a signal processing block that passes all frequencies equally in gain, but changes the phase relationship amongst various frequencies. And if you change the phase relationship, as we've seen here, we'll have some cancellation or some addition, and the resultant summed signal you will see or hear on the post all-pass output. That was a really complex sentence. I'm struggling with my words here. Most types of filters reduce the amplitude, sometimes known as the magnitude, of all the signal applied to it for some values or frequency, whereas an all-pass filter allows all frequencies through without changes in level. So what does it do? Basically, it's frequency-specific phase changes, and if we change the phase relationship of a specific frequency, that will filter stuff out. So yes, it's a filter. No, it doesn't work in the normal way, but the results are interesting. So, same thing. Noise, output, here, noise, all-pass filtered, output, summed together, correlated signals, output. So if we start introducing small amounts of delay, you should start to hear that kind of filtered, cone filtered. And if we change the delay time, the frequency of attenuation and phase shifting is different. Now in the grid we also have this gain amount, which is the amount of compensation. So if I turn this up, you'll start to hear the kind of hollowness become less and less and less. And about here you probably can't even tell if it's on or off. And when you go to 100% compensation means it's not doing anything. No compensation, we can hear all the effects. If I switch off the correlation, you won't hear anything. Okay, cool. So all-pass filters allow all frequencies to travel through equally in gain, but they change the phase relationships between various frequencies depending on where you've got it set or the features of your all-pass. So here's one last question I thought I'd throw at you, or one last idea I'd throw at you. Polarity and delay. So this sounds a lot like, what does this sound like? So here we've got noise, same thing, through, mixer, output. We've got the same noise going through a multiplier, much like we had up here. Same configuration. We're feeding the multiplier box on -1, so we're inverting the values. We've got it all the way up, and we can see that we have complete cancellation. We should hear something, but because we've inverted the polarity, we don't hear anything. But as soon as I introduce some delay, kind of like this, definitely like that, we'll start to hear the results. There's no filtering here, there's only a delay of one channel of a correlated signal. What that should sound like to you is basically a filter sweeping through white noise. So you could be thinking about it that at that level, wherever that delay is, wherever that is in the cycle of the noise, everything below it is phase cancelled, or mostly phase cancelled, and as we change the delay, where that cancellation is appearing is obviously shifting. And so by moving it in time, we can change the kind of EQ result, if you will, and we should hopefully see the results here. So if I just change this weighting, you can see the notch there, right? So we've got notch, peak, so working together, working, cancelling out, working together, cancelling out. Cool. Anyway, that's my attempt at explaining the difference between polarity, phase, using delay or moving something in time, what all pass filters can do, and then the fun you can have by just adding correlated inverted signals and then delaying them or mangling them in time. And this is the basis to a lot of DSP ideas. Hope you find it useful. Thanks a lot.